What is up, Sunday fams? Welcome back to another video. My name is Flip, and we get together every week to catch up to some of our favorite Asian dramas. And I just finished watching Eternal Love. And what we're gonna do in this video is compare it to Love and Destiny. As I was watching Eternal Love, I couldn't help but think about Love and Destiny. They're both very similar in the world, in the story, in just about everything. But what I think it's going to be fun is that we're going to be comparing the dramas between the story, the characters, the music, the special effects, and the action. Now, what I think it's going to be fun is that if you could keep count yourself and leave in the comment section below what your overall score is, and let's compare it. But real quick, before we get to any of that, make sure you hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. I think this is going to be so interesting. I think it's going to be so much fun, and I am very curious to see what kind of score you will be getting. And make sure you leave those comments in the section below, because I would love to talk it out and see what the overall community is thinking. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer, this is purely my perspective and my opinions, and ultimately comes down to what I prefer. Now, first things first, I want to talk about the story. If we're thinking about the overall romance, the pure romance of the entire story, I would have to give it to Eternal Love. Throughout the entire journey, I was pulled into so many different emotions and so many different places that I could not help but think of all the heartstrings that were being pulled that eclipsed 3 lifetimes between Yeha and Bai-chan. The tragedy of it all, the misunderstandings, the heartbreak, and for a hopeless romantic like me, I really appreciated that. Now, in terms of the overall romance, just the pure romance of the story, I'd have to give it to Eternal Love. Just the pure love between Yeha and Bai-chan was just so dramatic and so sincere that my heart was being pulled into so many different places. Just the overall love story between the two, I felt it much more and much more deeply than I did with Ju-chan and Ling-chi. Now, what about the secondary characters? I would have to give this to Eternal Love as well, because Vengo Mao and Dilraba, anyone? Even though the secondary characters for Love and Destiny were funny, quirky, and unique, they were highly entertaining. But the second love story for Eternal Love, although it kind of got in the way a little bit in terms of filler episodes, Dilraba is just so stunning and beautiful, and her romance with Daejun was just so captivating. And in terms of secondary characters, their story was just more memorable. Now let's talk about the action. And if you know me by now, I know that these dramas need to have all of the special elements in one place, and it has to have action. There were far more action sequences in Love and Destiny, far more than I can count. With Eternal Love, I could probably count, the first couple of episodes with the Great War, and that was just about it. And then towards the end, there wasn't really much. There was always a threat with Love and Destiny, and you felt it all the way through in all of its 3 phases. And in terms of epic war sequences, I think Love and Destiny takes it too. The cinematography and just the way the war sequences were shot were far better than Eternal Love. Now, in terms of special effects, I'm probably going to have to give this to Love and Destiny. Now, I know it was a little bit more recent than Eternal Love, but I think it just had a little bit more budget and the production value was much higher. The special effects when it came to animals was probably a little bit better. And of course, some of the action sequences when we're transforming into phoenixes or any of those mythical creatures, it was a little bit better for Love and Destiny. And now let's talk about the characters. I would have to say our main leads were very exceptional, and this was very hard for me to compare. Now, let's start with our main male leads. Who was the better god of war? Mark Chow or Chang Chen? Or should I say Yeha or Ju-chan? Which actors had a little bit more of a defining role in terms of the god of war and the romantic love interest? I would have to give this to Mark Chow. In terms of emotional range, he pulled it off. Like the hurt he was feeling, the sadness, the happiness, the anger, I felt it. Now, I know Chang Chan is a very famous and renowned actor, but I think his portrayal of the god of war, Ju-chan, in Love and Destiny, I think it was just a little too bland. He was so cold, and I don't think he displayed the same emotional range as Mark Chow did. And Mark Chow's salary, I think, tripled or quadrupled after this show, so that's a mark of a really good performance. And now what about our female characters? You know what I'm gonna say here, guys, but I do love Yang Mi and Nini. They are both one of the most charismatic characters in Chinese dramas, especially in this genre. But I'm gonna have to give this to Nini. Like, the emotional hurt and the emotional range that I felt during her journey, far more desperate, and it broke my heart when I was watching her go through all of that despair and all of that agony, all of that hurt throughout her trials. And, you know, there's something about crying scenes where I feel like when you see their eyes well up and puff up a little bit, it just seems a little bit more real to me. And I know that we use tears in some of these scenes to display some crying and some sadness, but I don't know, there's something about how Nini delivers it on screen where it feels so natural and so sincere, so genuine and so elegant. They're both really, really good actors, but Nini just takes the cake for me. Like, she just has this natural ability to deliver such emotion on screen, especially when they're in despair and they are feeling the most hurt. I would have to give it to Nini. So I think we're tied at this point, and I'm wondering what your score is. It's probably far different, or maybe it's the same than what I have, but we are 3-3 right now. Now we gotta go to the tiebreaker, and the tiebreaker for me is going to be the music. Which music was a little bit more sticky? Which soundtrack was more memorable? Whether I'm washing dishes, doing some random cleaning, or going about in my daily routine, I end up humming it. Now let's take a listen. I'm gonna have to give this to Love and Destiny, guys. That hook right there, I was humming it all day long for weeks and weeks while I was watching it. And, you know, like, it's just a little bit more catchy, it's a little bit more poppy, so I'm gonna have to give it to Love and Destiny. Now, don't get me wrong, Eternal Love soundtrack was beautiful as well, but I'm gonna have to go with something a little bit more catchy, a little bit more upbeat, and give it to Love and Destiny. Overall, I think both dramas are amazing to watch. Now, I know some of you are going to prefer one over the other, but I'm very curious to see what your overall score was and what you prefer the most in the comment section below. Guys, this was so much fun, and if you like this video, leave us a like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you happen to have any recommendations and you like the way this format was, let me know which dramas you would like me to compare. I'm thinking about watching The Pillow Book and maybe even Ashes of Love, but Nirvana in Fire now has English subs, and I know many of you have been recommending that to me, and now I'm watching it. But Nirvana in Fire just came out with English subs, available on Viki, and if you haven't watched that yet, or if you have already and you want to see it in its original language, then go check it out, the English subs. Thank you so much, Viki, for coming out with that. Many of you have recommended it to me, and now I'm watching it. But that is it for me, guys. Leave a like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And once again, you have a great and amazing week. I'll see you next time.